Welcome back. Today, we're jumping right into a really magical explainer. We are taking a deep dive into the wizarding world, specifically focusing on the thrilling, dark, and super lore-heavy sixth installment, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. But we aren't just looking at the story today. We're going to explore some of the most fascinating differences between the original book and the film adaptation. And then, we're going to examine something incredibly special, which is the unique and highly celebrated Hindi localization of the film that brought this magic to millions of viewers in India. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're just kind of curious about how massive global blockbusters adapt to different cultures, you are absolutely going to love this.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our explainer today is built on four main pillars. First up, the story of the Half-Blood Prince. Second, the Horcrux hunt. Third, book versus movie differences. And finally, Harry's Hindi avatar.
Part 1. The story, Half-Blood Prince.
So to really get this sixth chapter, you have to feel the atmosphere. The wizarding world is totally done being in denial, Lord Voldemort is back, and the war has officially begun. With Death Eaters openly attacking the Muggle world, security at Hogwarts is tighter than it's ever been. To counter this growing darkness, the film sets up three absolutely crucial narrative threads. First, Albus Dumbledore recruits an old colleague of his, Professor Horace Slughorn, because Slughorn holds a deeply buried critical memory. Second, in this really tense, hidden meeting, Severus Snape makes an unbreakable vow to protect Draco Malfoy and to actually fulfill Draco's dark mission if the kid fails. And third, back at Hogwarts, Harry stumbles upon a mysterious, heavily annotated potions textbook belonging to someone who calls themselves the Half-Blood Prince. This book is like a magic cheat code. It suddenly makes Harry a potions prodigy, but it also pulls him into a much darker, much more dangerous kind of magic.
Harry's newfound potion skills pay off almost immediately when he brews a perfect draft of Living Death and wins a tiny vial of Felix Felicis. You might know it better as Liquid Luck. And listen, this potion isn't just a fun little gimmick. It is absolutely crucial to the plot. See, Dumbledore tasks Harry with retrieving Slughorn's true, unaltered memory about a young Tom Riddle. But Slughorn is deeply ashamed and has actually modified his own memory to hide the truth. It is only by taking this liquid luck that Harry manages to navigate this bizarre, perfectly timed evening that ends with Slughorn finally surrendering the real, uncorrupted memory. And this brilliantly illustrates the masterful misdirection of the entire story. Throughout the whole year, Harry is heavily relying on this prince's book, while at the exact same time suspecting Draco of becoming a Death Eater. And it all converges at that dramatic, heartbreaking climax on the Astronomy Tower. Dumbledore's disarmed, Draco hesitates, and ultimately, it is Severus Snape who casts the fatal spell, killing Dumbledore. As Harry chases Snape into the dark night, totally desperate for revenge, Snape easily deflects Harry's spells Harry literally learned from that very book, and delivers the crushing revelation that he, Snape, is the Half-Blood Prince.
Part 2. The Secret. The Horcrux Hunt.
With Dumbledore gone, the whole narrative shifts from a school drama to a desperate quest. That memory Harry retrieved from Slughorn, it unlocked the core mystery, Lord Voldemort's path to immortality. So what exactly is a Horcrux? Well, it is the darkest of magic. To create one, a wizard has to commit the ultimate act of evil, which is murder. This horrible act literally tears the soul apart. The wizard can then encase that torn piece of soul into a powerful or significant object. And as long as that object remains intact, the wizard cannot truly die. But Voldemort didn't just want one Horcrux. He wanted to split his soul into 7 pieces to become truly immortal.
Now, Voldemort began this dark work decades ago. Back in 1943, he used the murder of Moaning Myrtle to turn his own diary into a Horcrux. Yep, that's the very same diary Harry destroyed way back in his second year. That exact same year, Voldemort murdered his Muggle father and grandparents to turn his grandfather's ring into a Horcrux. Dumbledore later destroyed that ring, though the dark magic severely cursed his hand in the process. And a few years later, he turned Salazar Slytherin's locket into a Horcrux. Finding and destroying these specific objects is literally the only way to make Voldemort mortal again.
Part 3. Book versus movie.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how differently the two mediums establish the stakes right from the start. The book actually opens from the perspective of the Muggle Prime Minister in his office, receiving a highly secret visit from the Minister of Magic. They have this incredibly tense political conversation, explaining that all these mysterious murders and bridge collapses in the news are actually the work of Voldemort and his Death Eaters. It really grounds the magical war in the real world.
The movie, on the other hand, completely skips all this political maneuvering and drops us right into a high-octane action sequence, showing the Death Eaters visually destroying the Millennium Bridge.
Here's another kind of funny logic gap between the two. When Harry, Ron, and Hermione follow Draco Malfoy into the dark nocturne alley to the Borgin and Burke's shop, their methods are, well, quite different. In the book, they are highly stealthy. They hide completely out of sight under Harry's invisibility cloak and use extendable ears to secretly listen to Draco threatening Mr. Borgin about repairing some mysterious cabinet. Actually, scratch that. The movie completely changes their whole vibe here. In the film, the trio just climbs up onto an adjacent roof and openly stares down through the glass roof of the shop. Totally visible, no cloak in sight.
We also get a pretty significant character swap during the iconic Hogwarts Express scene. So after Draco catches Harry spying in his train compartment, he paralyzes Harry, breaks his nose, and leaves him hidden under the invisibility cloak. In the movie, the delightfully eccentric Luna Lovegood uses her magical Spectra Specs to spot the Rackspurts buzzing around Harry's head, and she rescues him. But in the book, it's actually Nymphadora Tonks who finds him, and the book uses this moment to highlight Tonks' severe depression and her changing Patronus, which all stems from her complicated romantic feelings for Remus Lupin, a pretty heavy subplot that the movie largely glosses over.
Part 4. Harry Potter's Hindi Avatar.
So the crucial point is, when a massive global phenomenon like Harry Potter is distributed worldwide, it has to be localized. But a literal word-for-word translation rarely captures the actual magic. The Hindi scriptwriters made some brilliant choices here. Take Expecto Patronum, a Latin-based spell for a protective guardian. It became Pitre Deva Sanrakshanam, drawing on Sanskrit roots meaning father protector, which gives it this profound mythological weight. The terrifying Death Eaters became Pran Bakshi, which literally translates to life eaters. The quirky shopping street Diagon Alley became the incredibly playful Chu Munter Gali, and the Sorting Hat simply became the Bolti Tapi, or Speaking Hat. These translations instantly hooked the audience because they made the magical world feel familiar and culturally resonant.
And of course, those magic words need the exact right voices. The Hindi voice cast for these films is absolutely stellar, bringing just immense depth to these iconic characters. For the later films, including The Half-Blood Prince, Rajesh Kava provided the voice for Harry Potter. He was joined by Nachiket Digay as Ron and Praginya Pandya Shah as Hermione, and together they perfectly captured the trio's dynamic. Vikrant Chaturvedi brought all the necessary wisdom and gravitas to Albus Dumbledore, while Rishabh Shukla delivered a truly chilling performance as Lord Voldemort. For millions of viewers, these are the definitive voices of Hogwarts.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. We leave the Half-Blood Prince on just a massive cliffhanger. Dumbledore and Harry braved that terrifying cave to retrieve Slytherin's locket, only to discover it was a fake. It was left by someone with the initials R.A.B. With Dumbledore gone, the safety of the school is completely shattered. So we leave you with this pretty provocative question: what on earth happens next? Will Harry return to Hogwarts for his final year, or is he going to abandon his schooling to hunt down those remaining Horcruxes with Ron and Hermione by his side? Thank you so much for joining me on this magical deep dive, and I hope this explainer gave you a fresh perspective on an absolute classic.